I want to talk about yap content and how a lot of people are doing it wrong. And in fact, I'm going to use myself as an example, as a guinea pig of how I came to that conclusion by doing it wrong for so long. Now, luckily, I had a whole channel. I have a whole channel that's just yap content. And I started it about 3 or 4 years ago. Actually, 4 years ago exactly. It was just a channel where didn't want to edit or color grade or do anything. I just wanted to make a video and put it out there. And that's how it started, and it's good. I like it. But then I was like, it had a lot of really strange bouncing all about ways. So I was like, you know what? This is just going to be my diary. I'm just going to post things that I think and I put up there. Now, I made a huge mistake with that, and I only realized this like a day or two, that I thought it was just authentic. I thought that sharing my thoughts was really unfiltered as well. And whatever I was thinking on that day was helpful. But what I didn't realize is that it was pretty stupid and kind of annoying and a little bit cringe, just a little bit, because I thought it was helpful. But it was more helpful to me, not anybody watching. And that's a big problem. That's the problem I see so many people do. They make this content and they talk through it and they yap and they talk and so on, but they're doing it in a sense that seems to help more them, the speaker, the creator, than an audience, because clarity is what helps people. Now, you can talk freely like I am here, but if you're not clear, then you're not helpful. You don't want to use the audience as like a mirror to your own world. You're better off using your thoughts as a light to illuminate their problems and answers for them, or at least a new perspective. So when I helped some people through this, it was kind of accidental. I didn't mean to. I mean, I intended to, but it wasn't like thought out, like, here's this, and let me think about where you're at. It's kind of more like, I think if you're like me or whatever, then this is going to be your issue. So this was really just kind of this feeling of helpfulness, but wasn't actually helping. Now, here's the thing is, let's take some kind of an analogy for example. We have a couple ways we can go about yap content and authentic content and thinking out loud and things like that. But you don't have to show all of it. So let's say I'm kneading some pizza dough. I don't need to explain how to knead that pizza dough by showing every flip, fold, powder, flip, fold, whatever. What instead would make more sense is talk about it and be doing it while I'm explaining maybe a little bit more further insight, like about the powder or, flour, sorry, or how hard you push, instead of being like, then I folded it, then I folded it, and then I pushed, then I folded it, then I folded it, then I pushed. Like, you don't need to make this yap content all about the things along the way of the thought process, because then you're just going in circles telling people about how you're folding and folding. What you're better off with in the approach is folding it, saying I'm folded again, and then I push and I do it again, and I do it again, and I put a little flour, and then you would continue on to the insights. You say, and the reason the flour is there is because it gets sticky. Now you're going to get a little sticky, and you don't have to always put flour on, just a little bit. You don't want to overdo it while you're doing it, while you're thinking. And they can see and understand that, okay, they're just kind of free flowing, and I'm seeing all of the parts, but we don't need to circle around over and over and over all of the thoughts processing. So they don't need to see your thoughts. They need to see the result of thoughts in the past or experience in the past. And that is the absolute key distinction between good yap content and crappy yap content. The good content has a thought that you've already thought, and then maybe you can have some percentage that is, I'm thinking. But the crappy content, the crappy yap content, is an idea, and then they watch you think it through. This isn't a behind the scenes thing, not in that sense. It's better off just still having some kind of structure of the past brought to the present. The thing is, you don't want to dress up your journal like I was doing as if it's helpful to somebody else when it's really helpful, far more helpful to you. You want to flip that balance so it's more helpful to them, the yap content, the content where you're free flowing, than it is to you. And I think the last thing I want to talk about with yap content here, at least for this one, is that you need a bit of comfort. You need to be able to relax and kind of forget about the camera to a degree so that you can be in your own head when you are taking that turn down that road of the current thought process so that you can return back to the previous thoughts you've thought. But you have to be comfortable with some silence so you don't rush to a thought if you have a new idea. You can actually give it a moment to breathe and actually get to something new, and perhaps, and luckily, hopefully, it would be profound. But yap content, I just see it as very self-centered a lot of times these days when it wasn't before. And then they look to people who are doing it right and not understand what it is that they're doing right. Well, they're helping you with something that they have already kind of solved, or they've gotten to a certain point, and maybe it's not a massive problem that they're solving, but they've gotten to a point of getting through some kind of a barrier. Not watch me go through this barrier. That is boring, that is crappy, that is selfish, and it's using the audience for some kind of an ego rush. And again, like I said, don't get me wrong, I've been doing this. I just realized, I'm like, what am I doing? Wow, that is embarrassing. It's so much better to have done something and then kind of yap about it. So if I'm just looking out my window at my car, I recently got one of those umbrella heat reflectors for the windshield. And I can talk all about that and yap about it and how it's reflective and it's awesome, but it has this black underside, and that black underside actually cools down. So it's not even reflecting anything. It's kind of soaking up, which is kind of opposite to what I would think black would do. But when it's underneath the reflective, it works awesome. And I can keep going and on, and I have a lot to say. Versus those reviews that you watch when somebody clearly has never used it and they're like opening the package and they put out that, like, the reflector for their windshield, and they're like, yeah, it's really cool. Oh, it's interesting. It's black and it's reflective. It's going to do a good job. It's like, no, you don't know. You're just doing a terrible review. And that is the difference. That's the distinction. Like, you should be able to just free flow easily about something. So for instance, this video, I could go on and on about how yap content is just so, it's taken this turn into something that's just really, it's turning me off. When I see somebody start talking and I see them thinking, not reporting about some thoughts they had, I'm turned off, I'm out. I don't want to hear it. And then if I do really like the creator and I listen, I'll get through it and I'm like, oh, that was stupid. I should have just clicked off. I was right the first instinct. So hopefully this helps you make better yap content. And if you're interested in a free audit of your brand and content strategy, hit me up. We can talk. Till next time, I appreciate you.